Hey guys, apologies, took quite a while. Recently has been pretty busy on quite some things. Yesterday just had a radio talk show on CNA. Took a little bit of time for preparation, so probably recently why a little bit more busy on top of other commitments in a career, team, whatever. So anyway, no excuses. Let's go back to this. Today we are talking about more of rental and landlords, how that things are actually not as rosy as a lot of landlords would like it to be, because a lot of people like to go for rental yield, right? If they are okay to even sacrifice capital appreciation just to go for maximum rental yield. We have seen in quite some examples that rental yield should always not be your priority if you are trying to make money, because a lot of people like to justify, I want to make money here and there. But if you are just basing it on rental yield just to make money, but if you realize after net causes is really not that attractive anymore, especially recently after all these things upcoming next year. Supposedly there's a one-off rebate for the higher property taxes, but on the other hand, this is only applicable for owner occupier, and that's why it is not really this kind of headlines, people see you did what happy, but when you read into the details, you realize it's not for everyone. It's for people who stay in the place, especially the private, because that's where it hurts the most, right? Private residential. For people who rent out their places, unfortunately, you're not going to be getting this rebate. Yes, I know it's not a lot. It was supposed to be a little bit of a something like a GST voucher, that sort of to make you a little bit happy, but you don't even have it. Anyway, let's just go into it. Property taxes will be higher for next year onwards because of higher rent and AV as a result, because naturally there's going to be generally higher market rents in a certain area or even nationwide. Then it's only justifiable by AV will go up, and when AV goes up, your property prices, your property taxes will go up, not because of the tax rates in the first place, because all these taxes are based on the AV in the first place, then also coupled with the higher percentages. This one is the rebate that I was talking about. I'm not going to go into the whole article details because I'm pretty much in a rush. We don't really have time to finish this. And you can see over here, AV will be raised as part of their yearly review. By right, they were supposed to review every year. It has been increasing because of the higher rents over the past 2-3 years post-COVID, where there was a mad rush. But now it seems to have kind of tamed down. But it will still take time to catch up to the current market rents, and the rest you can take your time to go and read out about it. But this is the key part over here. Property tax rates has been increased to 12 to 36% by next year. Currently it's only this, which is already painful enough. Later I will show you some example from last time, the previous property tax rates, but this is, I would say, really quite painful. On the other hand, don't worry, for those people who are not so the lower income levels, they are not going to be affected, because especially those 1 to 2 room HDB owners and homestayer, actually, they will not be paying anything at all. Okay. Very likely they won't be paying anything, because after all, there is supposedly this whole tax system thing is supposed to I wouldn't say enforce equality. It's supposed to enhance a little bit more of equality. Although we know that of course that exists only in a perfect world. It's not going to happen in a capitalist society. And I think for those people who don't, if you do well, then you succeed. And then if you don't exactly make the right decisions, then especially your financial decisions, then unfortunately, the government will still have to come in and support. They don't want people sleeping on the streets, right? So moderation in rents 2024 could make it harder for landlords to pass all this increase in both the higher AV, and also higher property tax rates. Now what has been happening is because that the AV hasn't really been caught up, so landlords has been passing the load to the tenants. But after all these higher costs set in next year, then the landlords will really feel the pinch. And there goes people who have been trying to go for rental use, trying to go for higher percentage or ROI when it comes to rental returns. They will realize that it's actually not that attractive anymore. So upcoming is definitely not a huge supply because of the property prices trend. I think all this has been made known already. I remember the private property tax was like talked about since last year. I don't. If for those of you who have been keeping up with the news in the market, you shouldn't be surprised at all. Labor market pretty much stabilizing, but there is a lot more supply. So landlords have been kind of vulnerable in this sense that they are not going to be facing for a crash for sure, but they won't be able to command a higher rental, which I think for those people who have been focused on capital appreciation, you wouldn't really be affected because ultimately your key goal is not to focus on rental yield. You'll just be focused on the fundamentals and trying to sell higher in the future. But for those people who are okay with not going for capital appreciation and they are trying to go for making money through rental, I think these are the people that's going to suffer even very, very soon. Hey, this is the almost pretty much the same article. I'm not going to be talking about everything, but okay, like I mentioned just now, all these people they are buying properties for pure investment play in terms of rental wise, and then they will be hit the hardest because of the double blows. Like I mentioned just now already, they won't be getting any rebates at all. HDBs actually not really affected lah. They only increased by like just a small amount, like probably double figure kind of like less than $100 kind of difference. But for private, that is where the majority kind of hurts because the vast majority will be affected. They will face an increase of almost this sum, maybe even more than 25%. Let's take a look at some of the figures later. I did a little bit of simple figures to illustrate. Analysts do not expect residential or property prices to be dented as a result, because obviously you know how to look at the prices and how to look at the big picture in general, you realize that all these are still generally smaller causes, but it matters a lot to people who go for the rental ROI, that sort of things. But when it comes to capital appreciation, you're looking at usually 6-figure plus onwards, then all these smaller figures in a way doesn't really hurt that much. But like I said, it really depends on what kind of investor you are. Are you trying to play for capital gains kind of investor, or are you trying to play for rental? You are trying to maximize both, but unfortunately, I'm sad to say I don't think this is the market for you in Singapore, and I don't think the government wants it that way. It's very hard to have your K at 82 in this market right now. Singapore is not meant to be a pure speculative market. It's meant to be more for own stable buyer market. That's why it's very, very important for most of you to be very logical in your property making decisions. So owners of luxury residential property, on the other hand, is going to hurt them a lot. But like we mentioned, luxury residential properties, they are very they are very, very well off. Some of them are ultra rich. In fact, we are talking about 100 millions and above billionaires, that sort of level. They are not going to be hurt by all these property taxes. They can easily afford this. So it's going to be just a small amount of it. They are not going to feel pinch on it. On the other hand, the more average crowd like us, I wouldn't really say like bad lah, but of course the larger majority of us, they are a little bit more concerned about small little callers. Then you may be more concerned with all these taxes, but I don't really agree with this part, because this particular analyst says push buyers to go opt for smaller homes. Yes, I think they are opting for smaller home, but I don't think they are opting for higher property taxes, because it doesn't really make sense to buy a smaller home just for to some taxes. I haven't really heard of people saying, I'm going to buy a smaller house just because of lower property tax. It's a little bit too superficial. And on the other hand, developers may also be more measured in their land bids. I don't think they are really that affected by the property taxes in terms of land bid. The land bid prices because of property taxes. These are a little bit too small for them to be concerned about. They are more concerned about even winning that land. So not everything in this article I will agree with, but that is still my input. Like I said, higher property taxes will lead to landlords to resist lower rent because of higher property operating costs. Like I mentioned so far already, all these landlords are going to be hurt. But on the other hand, because of the softening rental market upcoming, because of the sheer amount of supply that is being loaded to the market because of all the TOP stuff, Landlords will have to lower their expectation. If not, they will be facing empty houses. Isn't that's gonna be even worse? Because every month that you don't rent out your $4,000-5,000 per month kind of rental, you are losing that kind of money. So a lot of people, they'll rather they just offset at a lower rent, and this is where the rental yield investor, the pure rental yield investor guy, which let's just face it, a lot of people they say, oh, I want rental yield and capital appreciation. It's not possible, but you insist and go and find somebody that's a jukebox, or rather a jukebox agent, and tell you what you want to hear. Then you realize that that's not really the case, which is very often, unfortunately. Then these are the people that will be smacked very hard in the face in the next year onwards. So anyway, back to this. I think it's an essential evil. It's not good for sure. I don't like it either. I'm being taxed also, but it is one of our nation's principal means of revenue. Because if you think about it, last year alone, property taxes 7.4% is a very, very large chunk. $5.1 billion just from property taxes alone, and this amount rose by 9.1%. You can see how much has really gone up in terms of property taxes being collected. Well, when you're talking about billions of dollars, naturally, because we had to top up the $100 billion coffer that was being opened at that point back in COVID, if somebody takes that money out, somebody had to put it back in, right? It can't be we keep taking from the future money. And these are some of the ways that governments had to put it back. Okay, the rest of the article is pretty much the same. And let's take a look at how property prices, especially for those people, they have been, last time, they have been that typical, what do you call it? Boomer generation or what? You should go for higher rent because you should rent out property that kind of thing. That kind of strategy doesn't really work anymore, because last time they used to be able to buy 5, 6 property, 10 property at one shot, and we are not able to do that because of ABSD. Nobody in the right mind for pure investment purposes will be paying ABSD, especially for multiple properties. If you do find that is a very viable strategy, or you really hear that from some other agents, I'm sorry to say I don't think you're speaking to the right person, because please show me the math. If your math really makes sense, please show it to me. I'll be very, very, very interested to learn. So that's why if you're talking about rental yield compared to those people the last time era kind of investors, of course it's very attractive for them, because they bought the property at a much cheaper price last time, and their tax rates were very low. If we take a look at the first $60,000 AV kind of private property, last time first $60,000 AV you only pay $6,900, which is still quite an amount of money. 1 year you're paying this kind of money. Then from this year onwards, they are paying this kind of money, which is an increase of 28.2%. And next year onwards, they are supposed to pay from $6,900 to $10,800. That is an increment of more than half, 56.5%, just for the first 60,000 AV kind of properties. And if we just move one tier down to 75,000, last time they paid 9,000 plus, which is $800+, almost $800 a month. Wow, that's quite a lot of properties. Well, then this year onwards, they were paying 12,900, which is an increment instead of 28.2. It became 45.8. It's a drastic increment. Then on top of that, that's not even the worst part. For the first 75,000, from next year onwards, it's gonna be 16,200, which equates to an increment of 74.2%. That's a huge amount of increment, and that's gonna be a big chunk of cost coming your way for those pure rental play kind of investors. I don't think this is a very viable investment strategy in today's market, because whatever works last time, yes, I worked last time. There are a lot of agents telling you 20 years ago if you buy this, 30 years ago if you buy this, that works last time. But after 2013, or rather since 2009 to 2013, government has introduced over 10 cooling measures. The whole market is very, very different now. If you are still listening to those kind of investors, I'm sorry to say, I hope I hope it's good luck. that kind of strategy really doesn't work anymore. Please do the math and show it to me. If you beg to differ, I would really love, like I said, to learn. Please open my eyes. I don't see any reasoning. I don't see any emotional play. I only recognize theories and hypotheses by numbers, something that can be proven. Okay, so that is pretty much the concerns about property taxes rising. And then let's take a look at what this guy says about the adverse impacts on higher property taxes on home. So this is the Singaporean dream. You buy one for own stay, you buy the other one to rent out. Great plan last time, but now property prices risen sharply. That means your yield gets a little bit lower, right? And then your home loan are also pricier because of higher interest rates. Then the phone was ringing a little bit. It always rings at the wrong time. So anyway, luckily for those people, like I said last time, the boomer generation sort of people, they were able to buy a lot last time before the ABSD kicked in. But now this strategy doesn't work anymore. The picture, like I said, is darkening. Bills are rising because of property taxes, both on the AV and also the percentage tax points. Then the property tax could continue rising again next time, because it doesn't mean that 2024 is going to be the final increment. I believe next time, a few years down the road, it's still going to increase. But for now, I don't think 2025 they are saying anything yet. Hopefully, it is the key source, like I mentioned earlier. It is the key source of taxing wealth. It is to, in a way, to fight inequality. But all these landlords are being hit at not really a right time, because renters are softening, and then there are a lot more homes coming up. That means there's a lot of supply to handle the rental demand, especially almost 40,000 private homes to be completed between these 2 years. Okay, then next, this results in tenants being able to strengthen their bargaining power. Landlords are in a way not really fighting a losing battle. They have to retreat a little bit, because the past 2-3 years has been very, very good for them in terms of rental going up like mad. But now is not really the time, because of the sheer amount of supply coming up in the market. Higher financing costs because of interest rates for those that didn't manage to lock in during the... last time I remember there was a 1.5% by DBS for 5 years. I've been telling some of my clients to lock in, because obviously the Fed was already signaling quite multiple times that increment was coming. Some listen, some don't listen as usual, and those who listen, I think, will definitely are thanking me for it. But yeah, unfortunately, not everyone will be that. Everyone's busy in their oboe. They're busy this and that. But when shit happens, then that is when last time I should this, last time I should that, which applies to property purchase, which applies to refinancing, which applies to a lot of things when it comes to property, because they like to see property as, second tier in their life kind of thing. But the bigger decision, because it involves a hell of a lot of money, you should always take priority first, settle it first, then you move on to other things. Of course, other people, they may have, you don't understand, I don't understand, the same thing. I always hear the same thing. So for me, it's simple. Whatever is important, you settle it first, then you move on to other aspects of your life. But I've already learned to understand at this point that a lot of people like to prioritize different things. So no right, no wrong. Landlords are cutting rent to secure tenants already. And people who are servicing higher home loans, as well as the retired people, they will be hit hard by higher property taxes, because especially those that have very poor cash flow, because there are quite some, they are staying in landed homes, but I know they are very, very cash poor. These kind of people may be hit quite hard. I've heard of some cases where landed owners, they for some reasons they don't manage it well. They even have problems trying to their standard of living is pretty much low, even though they stay in landed houses. So not everyone that stays in expensive homes are very, very well off. Of course, they can choose to sell . Like I think I already mentioned in one of the previous videos, it's a matter of choice . And there are a lot maybe other factors involved, but let's not delve into that. Singaporean homes make for strong investment propositions because of how Singapore continually try to be better. I think we don't have a lot of other nations, or rather in this case, it says that no other nations can beat Singapore in the long-term planning. We even have the East Coast plan that is meant for, you know, the welcome the East Coast plan because for East Coast, if you get what I mean. So the East Coast people that bought for the sea view, unfortunately, you do have sea block view in the long term. Hopefully you manage to offload it before that. But if you're buying because of the view, then I think one thing we have learned in Singapore is that change is the only concern. Whatever you may have today unblocked may not always be there permanently in the future. So hopefully your home buying decision has to be a lot more logical than that. Anyway, the price to pay for investing in Singapore is increasingly a steep one. So what it means is that basically, in case you haven't realized already, I remember 2 years ago, 1.3 plus, 1.4 plus million, you can buy a 3-bedroom new launch. Of course in the OCR region, but today you can only buy maybe a one bedroom or maximum a 2-bed 1-bath, that sort of thing. It's getting tougher and tougher. Of course, there will still eventually be people who's able to afford to offset from you, but if you want to enter, then it's going to be tougher to enter already. That's why people who are sitting on the fence, in fact, I do see quite some people, they ask a lot of questions, they have a lot of concerns, and today they're still sitting on the fence, and unfortunately they have been sitting behind the fence because they are not even on the fence anymore. They have fallen short. They are not able to unfortunately keep up with the increasing prices to enter the market, and they'll be only forced to enter those that are a lot more risky. Okay, I'm not going to talk about this, but this one you can see that this is probably pretty much proof that rental is pretty much softening simply because of the supply that is upcoming, and quite a lot of people are already taking their keys to their new places. So the increasing price of rental kind of pressure is softening. It's not as strong anymore. Okay, that will be all we have for today, and then we'll see you guys. If you have any questions, feel free to PM. Then see you guys. Bye bye.